What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Beyond Prosperous podcast. Listen, you are the prosperity makers. And so, making sure that I give you valuable information that ultimately help you create that prosperity, not just for you, but for your family and the people that you serve. That is what we're here to do. So, today I want to talk about how life is suffering. Regardless of how you desire to live life out, there is going to be suffering involved. And what I mean by suffering, and for some of you, like suffering may seem like a hard word or a harsh word for life. I think that the reason that that may be so is because of how lightly we take life. And so when we realize the value of what life really is and the thing that we are supposed to bring to this life, and um, I think that we will realize that life is actually suffering. And so when I think of this, I guess to put it into context, when I think of this, I believe that there are two different sides to it. All right. So you have the one side of suffering where it's a suffering as a result of you making bad decisions, or I say we of us making bad decisions, because obviously, nobody is perfect, and we typically we have to live with the results of whatever decisions that we make, and not all of our decisions are prosperous decisions. Some of us, we've made bad decisions not because we're bad people, but sometimes because of our ignorance of just not knowing what the next step is or what we should be doing as a result of the situation that we're in. And so today I want to talk about that and ultimately uh, dig deep into this, because I understand and I realize that we're trying to get to a place of purpose. We're trying to get to a place where our everyday life is a part of this everyday grind of fulfillment and purpose, and adding value to the people that we feel called to, and adding value to the people around us. And I believe that that is so important, and I also believe that that is a part of the great commission that God has sent us out to do, and it is to love your neighbor as yourself. And so to love your neighbor is not just to love your wife or to love your kids or to love your mom or your dad. To love your neighbor is to love the human that you are coming in contact with, and also the people that you feel called to serve with the value that you have and the value that you bring. And so when we realize the value of life, when we realize the value of life, we understand that there is a journey to this thing. There is a process to this thing. And so for me, like almost 6 years ago, I got married to my wife. And so when I got married, I realized that I wanted to be successful. I always knew I wanted to be successful, but when I got married, I realized that I needed that thing now. I realized that I needed that thing now, not just because I wanted to have more, but more so because I wanted to create a life that would give us the things that we desire. But ultimately, at that time, it truly was. I mean, in ignorance and not understanding this the value of the life that I have, I wanted to be successful, to have the life that I always envisioned. And that life meant traveling. That life meant not having to worry about finances. That life meant having the car and having the house that I desired. That was that was the extent of it. Now, where I am now, 6 years later, after all the studying, after all the research, after all of the mentoring, I realized that success is about serving our neighbor. And that is like, success is a byproduct of serving so many people. And so I believe that many times wealthy people, they get a bad rep because of our understanding of how to get successful. So for some of us, this idea of the rich man or whatever, is like, we believe that they have tricked so many people into giving them money, that they've conned people out of their money, out of their hard-earned money, when most of the time the people that is super successful, they got that way not because of conning people, but because they served so many people that they people saw value in what they were serving, and they gave them money. Now, it wasn't like face value. It wasn't like, this is the person that I'm giving money to, but the service, the product, the care, the counseling, the whatever it is, like whatever it is. And so Jeff Bezos is a great example of that. He created Amazon. He's serving so many people while he as a person, you may say he's corrupt. He's doing all of these different things. The man is serving millions of people every single day. That is the value that he's adding, but not from his physical or him putting his hands to the plow, but more so because he's created a system and a process to help people get what they desire. And so now he's prospering based off of that. So life is suffering. The thing is that Jeff Bezos, he didn't start like that. He didn't start with boom, like this is it, and billions of dollars like the next year. Like, no, there was a process, there was a building. And the thing that got him to where is he found different ways to add more value to the people that he was called to serve. And so it is no different when you are in your calling, when you are in your ministry, when you are doing the thing that you're called to do. You must find different ways to bring the most value possible to the people that you serve. And so success is a byproduct of the value that you add, of the people that you serve, and and the level that you serve them at. And so I got this statement from, and this is basically what this whole podcast is based off of. I got this statement from, it's a book called Man's Search for Meaning. It's been a while since I read it, but I definitely remember some of the aspects of it. Um, and so just a quick brief kind of overview of the story is there was this, during the Holocaust, Jews were being killed in so many different ways. And so like gas chambers and all these different things. Well, it was this doctor, and he was a Jewish doctor. And so he was in one of the camps, and he was writing about his experience while he was in the camp. And so this is one of the things that he said. He said, to live is to suffer. To survive is to find meaning in the suffering. And so in his conditions, there were that it was not, he didn't have the nourishment that he needed. He didn't have the environment that he needed. He didn't have the opportunities that he desired while he was in the camp. Now, before the camp, you see, the the story, it gives him perspective. His situation gives him perspective. He lived a life before the Holocaust where he was a doctor. He served people and he helped them get better. Now he's in a situation where he can no longer serve people, nor do he have the privileges that he used to have before this situation happened. And so he says this: to live is to suffer. To survive is to find meaning in the suffering. Now, when I grab that and I bring it into my own context, to live is to suffer. I believe that when I use that, when he uses that word, I'm not sure exactly what he meant when he used that word suffer, but what I hear is that to live is to suffer. That means that if I desire something bad enough, I realize it's not going to happen by happenstance. And also, I realize that regardless of the way that I go, suffering is going to be a part of it. So if I decide to do something good, or if I decide to do something wrong, or if I decide to be average, or if I decide to be great, there is suffering involved. Why? Because the suffering that you that you have to commit yourself to with being average, or with being just doing the ordinary, is a life that's ordinary. The suffering that you have to do when trying to be extraordinary is it's a different level of suffering. Why? Because there are processes you're going to have to go through. You weren't born just excellent. You weren't born just amazing. Why? That's why people can be gifted and still not be the one that makes it to the big leagues, because there are different levels of suffering that you must go through to get to the thing that you're ultimately desiring to get to. And so, to kind of wrap that up and to kind of frame that, when you are pursuing your purpose, there are processes you're going to have to go through. There are stages you're going to have to go through. There are networking things you're going to have to do. There are things you're going to have to read. There are things you're going to have to review. There are courses you're going to have to take. There are things you're going to have to do in order to get to the place that you ultimately desire to be. And so my word of advice when it comes to this, and all the things that we're learning and all the things that we're doing to grow, is make sure that you are implementing the things that you learn. And so through this 6 years, I have taken in so much information, and that is great for me. But that doesn't help anybody if I'm not implementing, and if I'm not actually doing the things that all of these books and all of these mentors and all of these people are telling me to do. So what I'm saying is that if you are reading a lot, that's great. But if you're not implementing, that's not great. It is much better to take one book and one process and master it, so that now it's a part of you, and move on to the next thing. It's called mastery stacking, than to have all of this knowledge and all of this information, rather this information, and not be able to apply it and implement it in your life to ultimately impact the people that you're called to impact. And so life is suffering. That means that you're going to have to take time. That means that you're going to have to have delayed gratification, which is what I'm trying to build my life on right now, is delayed gratification, putting in the work now for what I know is going to come in the future. And so, like, that is what we're doing. That is what we're building. As you continue to build your life and create the life that you ultimately desire, remember that you must understand that suffering is a part of it, and it's okay. It's okay not to have great days every day. It's okay to get overwhelmed sometimes. If you are getting overwhelmed by things that you're doing, you probably will realize it is because you're going in the right direction, not necessarily because you're going in the wrong direction, or it's because you feel stuck in the place that you're in. So what you do? You should reevaluate where you are right now, and find clarity on the next steps to take, because ultimately what we desire most is progress. What we desire most is to see things happening, see things changing in a positive way. So and just a note on that is that typically we don't like change unless it's change at our pace. So sometimes in our life we find ourselves in situations where life has changed, and we weren't prepared for it. And so in order to stay ahead of that is just to always be prepared. Always be prepared. Realize that life is going to throw different things at you, but you have this opportunity in front of you. You can call it an obstacle, opportunity, is whatever you feel. But either way, if you want to get to the place that you want to go, then you are going to have to get past it. Then you are going to have to take hold of it, and you're going to have to do what you have to do in order to get to the other side. And so today, realize how suffering can actually, and how suffering is involved in life, and how suffering is actually necessary for you to get to the place that you ultimately desire to be, and how suffering is going to be in your life, whether you choose to do the good or the bad, whether you choose to stay where you are or you choose to go to the next level and do the thing that you called to do. So you might as well do the thing that you're called to do. So I will see you guys in the next episode.